All right, let's give it some time. Let some guys get on here. We're gonna do our live stream Thursdays here.
Live stream
It
Thursdays.
used to be called live stream Friday,
Was that
but
with
live
Steve?
stream Thursdays. The only challenge is, gotta find out where. 1 second. This guy right here.
Oh, we got people joining.
All right.
Oh
See what they're
yeah.
saying.
They haven't said anything yet. What's up, guys? My
Can't
name
find
is
split
Sebastian. That's
channels.
Coach Brent. You can call me Coach Bench.
Yeah, I don't know why this isn't working.
All right, hit us up with questions. What's that one for? Is that for YouTube?
I'm trying to see how to get our chats up, but it's not working on here.
All right,
I have to pull it up individually, so at least on Instagram.
okay.
So we got Sebastian Bentz here.
How you guys doing?
We got a new setup we're gonna be playing with. That thing is like right in the way now, isn't it? Or is it
no,
this
it's
one?
this one. It's
This one.
It's
over
that
here.
one.
Sorry, guys.
We got new microphones.
Can y'all hear us? Ask them if they can hear.
Can you
us.
guys hear us? Somebody say yes in the comments.
Give us some waves?
Yeah, give us waves if you could hear
I
us.
could actually turn it on here.
Do you
Let's
guys work with throwing mechanics?
Look.
Can you guys hear us? Oh, they can hear us. We have our
see.
first
They can hear us
question.
Really good.
We have our first question. Do you guys work with throwing mechanics? Everybody's saying yes now.
Yeah, of course. We work with throwing mechanics. You know, it's a good. I'm glad you asked that question because I just did some videos for the 2X position player program, so we can work with guys from positions, outfield, infield, catchers. I even have a sub 2.0 program. But if you're looking for like the free course that I have for pitchers at topvelocity.net/100 miles per hour, I'm doing one for position players coming up probably next week, which would be. I'm pretty excited about putting it out. Cool. What else we got? You follow.
What's up,
keep up with
Ryan?
that.
My boy Ryan, the dude from last live stream.
Oh, there you go.
How you doing, dog?
He knew you were on, man.
Yeah, he checked up on me.
Waves.
Yeah, give us
We're still selling. We're still sounding.
Oh,
good.
we have another one. Brent, I'm trying to get rid of leading with a throwing elbow. Trying to get early external rotation.
So early external rotation.
Oh, no.
So when that's where if your shoulders are completely closed at front foot strike and your hips are open, and the key to hip to shoulder separation is the hips are pushing open and the shoulders are countered closed, right? So you got this stretch between the two, this loading, eccentric loading between the two. So this is creating power against the shoulder. So the shoulders, even though it's countering that movement initially, it's about to explode and take off. So we want to make sure coming out of shoulder rotation, before we go into rotation, we can get abducted, elbow up, and elbow back, right? So that's the early external rotation. Once we go into shoulder rotation, I want this thing up. Because if I don't, then I'm dragging my arm, and then my arm's going to be in really bad positions. It's going to compromise transferring all that energy through the trunk. So that's the early external rotation now. Hit front foot strike, shoulders closed, quickly up into external rotation so it can follow the trunk forward. So how you get that is more closed shoulder orientation, more hip to shoulder separation, because you can have your shoulders closed, but if nothing's driving your shoulder and you go to pull your glove, it's not going to sync up well. You're not going to want to get up early and get way back because you're trying to create energy in your trunk and the arm starts dragging again. So the key to it really is not just closing the shoulders off, but getting the hips driving so you get that optimal hip to shoulder separation. And look at this picture over here. I don't know if you guys are on YouTube, but
We have
it looks
some
pretty
high
legit.
quality YouTube right here.
Looks pretty legit, dude.
Should I do med balls if I shut down for the winter? That's a good question.
Med ball, yeah. A lot of guys call up, and when we get pro guys in here that pitch, pretty long, and a lot of young kids are pitching a long time now, that they don't want to throw right when the season ends, and I understand that. Studies show that if you throw more than 8 months out of the year, you're 5 times more likely to have injury. So it is good to take some time off from throwing. So I usually advise guys just do the med throws, because the med throws isn't putting all the torques in your arm, because you're not using a lot of that external rotation torque. You're not trying to crank on your arm as much as you're trying to get your hips and trunk to start delivering energy and your arm to work with that. So the med throws, I believe, are great because it keeps your core and it keeps your legs working, and it keeps your mechanics synced up so you don't lose all that good muscle memory that you built the year before. But at the same time too, because you're not in those baseballs with those faster arm movements, boom, putting all those torques, you give your arm time to heal and recover and get stronger. And also too, gives you an opportunity to start building overhead strength, right? Now I can get in the weight room and I can start lifting overhead because I'm not cooking my arm every day or my arm's hanging and I don't want to press anything because my arm's hanging. Have you noticed that being in here, that you can do more overbody work because you're not putting as much stress on your arm?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So
And then we
Good
have
question.
need a haircut, more aerodynamic. I think he's talking to you there.
me,
Yeah.
my hair is not nearly as long as Sebastian's.
What? What's the best lift to increase velo?
The best lift to increase velo is all of them. I mean, people always ask, like, what's the best way to do it? Look, this camera's going to go out in
Uh-oh.
25 seconds. Only negative to this cool camera we have is it wants to kill. I'm going to kill it and bring it back
I
on.
bet that it has like a.
There we go. Oh,
I bet it
there
has
is.
a setting that you could take the timer off. You know.
And then I hit it. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, no, it doesn't for some reason. Need a better camera over there, but it's working for now. So what was the question?
Best lift to increase velo.
All of them, guys, because this is a multi-planar movement. So we're not just moving power, say, in one direction like a sprinter would. We're moving power initially lateral, then we're gonna go into front foot strike. We're gonna open and drive, create that rotational power as we also stay closed against that and resisting that rotational movement. And then everything opens up and carries more of that momentum energy going forward, and that becomes that more sagittal energy. So this is such a multi-planar movement. If you were like a sprinter and you just worked on power in one direction, then all of a sudden if you're running back, you can run really fast and get that breakaway speed, but when you got to make a move,
Oh, you got no chance.
you got no chance. You're stumbling over yourself. So the point is you got to look at it like that. We have to be well-rounded, and they have to be very much developed in all aspects. I'll get a guy, and a lot of guys aren't really well-rounded. You get guys in here that can jump really high but can't jump far or can't jump lateral. So that's a stability, mobility issue that's not allowing that to happen.
And so, what do you think if a guy doesn't want to be in the weight room, doing the full program, because it takes too much time, maybe they don't have enough time in the day, what would be like the 5 best exercises to do in one day?
If that's more to me like an in-season approach, where I'd probably want to go in and do some kinetic chain, explosive stuff, plyometric, clean stuff. I want to do that. Then I'm going to hit in some posterior chain stuff and hit some deadlifts and stuff like that. I'm going to go in and do some sleds, lateral sled work.
Oh, those are good.
I'm going to do some core work, forearm work, overhead work. I mean, that's the thing is eventually I'm going to want to start doing everything.
Right. And now another one is long toss good or bad?
Long toss, it depends. Like if you're doing it extreme, if you're trying to go at extreme distances, then it starts to work against ourselves. So everything needs to be in a range. I guess you could apply it to sprinting. It's the same thing. If you're a sprinter, which typically pitching is a 60 feet distance requirement, it's a short distance. So if you're a sprinter, which is typically a short distance activity, and you're like, hey, how is running long distance bad? It is. It becomes more of a low intensity aerobic movement. I know that doesn't typically happen when you throw farther distance. Your intensity goes up. But what does change is your mechanics start to change. The studies show that your mechanics start to change. They become more rotational. The strides shorten up because you're trying to get those higher, earlier release points. And because of that, it puts more stress on your arms. So they call it the least efficient throws. When what happens is for the amount of velocity you're creating, the torques are way harder than if you did that on the mound. So if you threw 90 on a mound with the more multi-planar, linear, long stride mechanics, more kinetic chain, a longer time to use the kinetic chain, the stresses are going to be lower than if you're at 90 miles an hour at 350 feet in a rotational short movement. The stresses are higher. So they call it the least efficient throws, meaning like for the same amount of velocity you're putting on the mound, you're putting way more stress on your body to create it. And that's the thing I don't like about it. But to be honest, if you could, the two things I want to take out of extreme long toss is I'm going to take out the fact that it makes us change our mechanics, and I'm going to take, because of that we put more stress on our arm typically than at a short distance, throwing the same velocity. So if I could take those two things out, I'd be like, do it all day. But that's the problem. If you notice as you're throwing in your long toss, and maybe 120 feet, you're still in your mechanics. But if you're getting like 250, 300 feet, and you're using completely different mechanics, and you can feel your elbows blowing up, why do you want to be there?
Yeah, right. To build arm strength.
Exactly.
No pain, no gain.
Right.
What are the new bands from the ceiling for? I think he's talking about those.
Yeah, so that's the LTE harnesses. Those are pretty cool. those, and you can check those out at topvelocity.net/LTE. Load to explode. What it does is it makes you weightless. It makes you weightless so you can fall and get into those low linear positions that you've more than likely never experienced before. You've probably never gotten that low before. So when you start doing that, you start creating this feeling of, hey man, this is where I need to get. This is how low I need to get. This is where my force vector's linear. I got good flexion. You know, I look like an elite pitcher down here. This is where I have to get. It starts blowing your mind how low you are. You can also start driving down there, and you start to get to train where an elite pitcher moves. I mean, you can't beat that. I think that's the hardest thing with a lot of stuff we do. I can't sit here all day and tell guys, this is where you're supposed to be, and this is what it feels like, and this is how you move out of it. Because it's like me trying to tell you what a color looks like you've never seen.
Colorblind.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like me trying to define plaid to a blind person.
Yeah, you got no
You know,
chance.
it's just like, they're really like, whatever. I mean, a lot of times when you're coaching guys, that's what it's like. So when you can take a tool and you can be like, hey, feel that. You feel that, and you're like, oh, wow. Like, you had that moment the other day, which you said was really cool. And that was a connection, I believe, between you playing basketball and doing your drills. You were trying to be quicker to the goal, and then you tried to be
Quicker
on the
drill.
mount, and it started all clicking for you.
Mm-hmm.
So not until you had an experience where you actually could like
Jerking,
feel it and do it, could it process, right? Because I could sit here and that's why, be honest, that's why I don't like coaching too long. Like I don't like sitting there and spending too much time coaching a guy because I'm just repeating myself and nothing's happening.
Right.
And a lot of older coaches that have done this for a while don't have a lot of patience with young players because of that reason. They know that once they've repeated themselves 3 times, like you're not going to learn it. Yeah, I could figure out another way to say it or come out with another tool. That would be a better way to do it. But sometimes you're just not ready, or I got to give you time to have that experience like you had the other day, where you had the aha moment, and it's all on you. And it's cool when you figure it out because you own it more than if I make you figure it out. If I make you figure it out, it's like, oh, I need Coach Brent every time I want to have that experience again. No, when you figure out, you're like, I did it. I owned it. I made it happen, and it gives you confidence that you can keep doing it.
It's like the same thing as like if you're cooking and you have somebody else telling you all the steps, you know, and you're making it, you know, you feel good about yourself because you cooked it. But as soon as you stop needing somebody to tell you the steps, you remember them and you do it yourself. Man, the food tastes different because you're like, you owned it, you made it, you know, you made it happen.
That's exactly it, and that's why a lot of the guys who have success out of here, they don't really call me up and they're like, hey, Coach, you know, thank you for everything you did. I mean, I'm not going to get that. Or I think the funny thing is a lot of them will get interviewed and they won't mention me.
Because they think they figured it out.
They're like, yeah, man, I worked really hard this offseason, and I was doing this program, and I put this stuff together, and I started throwing 95. And they're like, wow, how did that happen? I don't know. I think it was
clicked.
It was natural, man. I'm just like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm happy for you because that's why we do this.
That's
right?
the testimonials.
Exactly. Man, I think we're only getting, I don't know if the YouTube is picking up anything. Let me see if Periscope is. What are you getting on there? Still?
It says, Ryan, my boy from Canada, from the last live stream, he said, tell him about our conversation. We were talking about pitch grips. Let me grab a baseball real quick.
Okay, let's bust into some pitch grips. All right, guys, so we're on Periscope, we're on YouTube, I think we're on Facebook, we're on a lot of platforms right now, but go ahead.
You're gonna have the good ball. So we were talking about, I gotta make sure you can see it. All right, it's a little bright, but I have a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seam fastball, a sinker, it's called a 1-seam sinker. A bunch of guys in the Big D's throw it. I have a changeup, same way, and a curveball, right? And with all my grips, you know, they all have different things that you try to feel with them. You know, like the 4-seam, you know, you can make it go up and down and all that. But like the big grip right here is the 1-seam sinker, and there's a whole science behind it. So 4-seamer tends to rise when you get that true spin because of all the dimples that the laces across the ball, they cause that. And the wind works around it in a way that it kind of picks the ball up. It's the same thing when you're golfing and you hit it perfect and you just see the ball like take off like that. It's because the way that the wind works around it and like and all that stuff. So
But they still haven't proven if the ball actually rises though. They think it creates
it
just stays up longer.
that's the
Yeah.
rising effect. You know what
Right,
I mean?
Right.
And so like the peculiar thing about this grip is that we take out as many seams as we can. We make it a one seam now, one seam, and you throw it straight. It's gonna have the least amount of dimples to create like force around the wind, and it drops a lot more. Like falls. So it's gonna be rather than like this with all these laces crossing it. It's gonna be just one lace, and it falls a lot more. It doesn't get as much like wind around it. It just dies. And
What was the question initially?
talk about our conversation, pitch grips.
Pitch grip. So it was just
Yeah.
into like fastballs.
No, we talked about curveballs and change-ups.
So basically, I mean, the only thing I add to it is that biomechanically everything's the same to release. So when you go to release, if you're in a fastball position at release, you're gonna fingers on top, 4-seam position. You're gonna release into pronation. Your thumb will turn over. And the reason that happens is when your arm laid back, it was resisting internal rotation, and it was resisting what's called supination, your thumb wanting to spin out. So you're trying to turn your thumb over so it doesn't keep swiveling back as it lays back, and you're trying to pull your shoulder into internal, stabilize it internal, so it doesn't keep wanting to lay back as everything goes forward. So the opposite reaction of external rotation supination is internal rotation pronation. So typically the fastball, you get that release off when you're in a neutral position and then pronate. With a curveball, like where you're still on top, you're in a supinated position though at release. So what happens is instead of you going to neutral, you stay in supination a little bit longer, and then you break it out, and then you go into pronation. So there's a slight delay into that pronation when you go into the breaking balls, when you get more on the side of the ball. But you're still, and that's the thing that where the pitches are going to be more effective, is even though your hands on the side of the ball are in a supinated position, you still need to have the pressure on top of the ball. If you get the pressure on the side of the ball, then you're not going to have a lot of the hard breaks. You're going to lose a lot of the spin rates.
Right, that's like, so I throw over the top. When I throw my curveball and the hand gets under the ball, I hang it every single time. But then when I feel like the hands are over it, I try to feel like this. It always ends up like that. That's when it gets that sharp drop, like off the table.
Yeah, that's the key. It's even with your sliders, it's finishing through the ball, and that's just making sure that you keep that pressure to release. If you're losing your pressure before release, you're going to lose your spin. So you need to feel all that pressure to release. Even if you're throwing a fastball, same thing. You'll feel all that pressure on the ball to release. And if anything is breaking, and you can move like a 2-seam fastball. You could slightly move it by putting your pressure on one finger to the other finger. If you keep that pressure there as long as you can, you're going to get more spin out of the ball. That's how you just move. You could just throw a 2-seam fastball, and you could just move it wherever you want, as long as you stay focused on one finger and where that pressure is, all the way to release. Don't give up on it before release. You're going to get break. You're going to get movement away from your normal straight fastball if you're in a over the top slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's crazy.
So do you guys in your program in command or control improve? So we just talked about command and control right there. And like we said, the biomechanics should be the same for every pitch. So everything's the same fastball. Everything's the same curveball. Everything's the same slider. Everything's the same changeup. So the only thing changing is the wrist position and the hand grip position. As far as command in the delivery, I call it precision. See if you can get this. What's the difference between being precise and being accurate? It's something I learned a few years ago, and it's very important to what we're doing. What's the difference between being precise and being accurate?
Being precise is, so like if you're accurate, you just get into the zone. When you're precise, you put it where you want it in the zone.
So when someone says command, do you want your command to be precise or to be accurate? What do you think?
Oh, you're precise all day.
Right.
That's when you start missing pitches and hitting home runs.
Right, because it comes to a thing where maybe you could be accurate putting the ball in the zone every time, but you could be getting hit all over the place. You could be precise and not even throwing strikes, but you're hitting just off the corner every single time. I would rather be precise. You're in more command of your pitches. But when it comes to precision, precision is in our delivery, and we were talking about the other day. Once you take your arm out of the equation, when you stop trying to pitch from handbrake to release with the ball, when you're more focused on launching your body to the target and letting your arm follow, you have to trust the fact that your precision now is coming from your direction of momentum and not, I mean, the direction of momentum in your whole body wouldn't be the direction of momentum in just your arm.
Yeah, because you just goes with it.
Right. So think about it. It's like if I'm pushing a freight train and I got, you know, a rope hanging off the back of the freight train with a ball on it. That rope's following the freight train, right? The freight train stops. The ball is going to just move where the freight train energy was going, right? As opposed to taking that rope and throwing it out in front of the freight train to try to hit your target. That's the difference here. So when you're using biomechanics that are building all your momentum towards your target, your precision's based on where is that energy going, and are you syncing the kinetic chain up to where the arm is in following that energy at the end. So, and once you have that down, you have the sequence down. If I want to hit the outside corner, I just bring my momentum there. I like to do that with my glove side and through my front hip. I just bring my momentum there, stabilize that position with my front foot. My front foot needs to land in that direction. Now all that energy's in my body. Now I sequence it up and let the arm and the chest and the arm follow where all that momentum went. And that's how I locate it. So yes, this is all very much precision focused and built around your command, because when we sit there and we drive our energy and we talk about front foot positions in our program, it's all in an orientation to bring our precision to the target, wherever we want it on the target.
We have two good questions here. The quicker one. What velo was Orzi this fall in inner squats? I could tell you for a fact he was sitting 92. I'm pretty sure he also sat 93. Don't quote me on it though, but he was mowing down hitters.
Yeah, that's a good question. I heard last year he was like, I think he touched 90 a few times last year. He was more like 87, 88. So that's a big jump for Orzi.
Sitting 92, 88, 89 mile per hour cutter. That's nasty.
Our goal,
we're like this much break.
Our goal this break between season is he's going to come in here and train his ass off and be, you know, touching 95, maybe more. So I think that's a big goal for him this year, is to be 93 to 95 with a 91, 92 mile an hour cutter. He's going to be a high draft pick. Be a high draft pick.
And the other one is,
and all you haters out there it's going to be a thorn in your hip when you see him get drafted. And he deserves it, guys. Orzi deserves it. The guy who's fought cancer
multiple times.
Multiple cancers, guys. He deserves it. So.
When I throw, my elbow is dropped. Any way to get out of that bad habit?
So I always tell guys, just might not be your problem, but first focus on what's going on with your hips. So a lot of guys, you'll see they try to get the arm up, their arm slots are dropping, and you look at their hips. As their hips are going in, their hips are dropping. So if this hip is down here as opposed to upright, if this hip is down here, where my shoulder is. Just get in a full stride, take your right hip or your throwing arm hip and drop it down and look what your shoulder does. And try to counter that by picking your shoulder up, which guys do. And it creates a mess in your kinetic chain and it can injure you. So if your elbow's dropping, it could be your hip is dropping and collapsing and now you're down here. And you're trying to pick your arm up and that's why you're struggling. It's stabilizing your hip, driving through a stable hip, separating into that, and then your arm slot comes up where you want it. People don't realize how the hips are the foundation to your upper body. So a lot of the things, and you know, I always feel like I'm cheating, but a lot of the guys that come to me, you know, I've worked all the way from the major league level. They'll come in and they have all these arm path issues and arm problems, arm injuries, and I look right at their hips and I'm like, well, it's because your hips are all messed up. Your hips are dropping, they're inflexible, they're weak, they're collapsing, and you just fix this and all of a sudden all this fixed. And all their upper body fixes, and it blows their mind because they've spent the whole year or multiple years focusing on where this was and not where their hips were. And once you show them that and they realize they've been blind to it, it's a really hard realization that they've been clueless to how this whole thing works, the foundation being your lower half.
What about throwing for basketball player in season? What? Throwing for basketball players in season.
Throwing for basketball players. Oh.
Like, when they're in basketball season and they're trying to practice.
Oh, look at this. My battery's dying over here. Throwing for I gotta get another battery. So throwing for basketball in season. So I think the hard thing is when you're in basketball, how are you preparing? You're gonna be in good shape. I think you just need to take like some time to throw a little distance, maybe 60 to 100 feet, and then get some little time on the mound. Just get your arm ready for the torque, and then you'll be good because you'll be able to transition over because you're gonna be in great shape. It's just you got to make sure your arm's ready for all the stress of throwing, and just it's ramped up. You just got to ramp it up and get it ready. Answer the next one. I'm getting another battery.
Oh yeah, I got it. What's up, guys? Coach Brendan's getting some batteries for the camera. Is it a one-time fee to come and train as much as you like? Yes. You come to the camp, the 3X camp, one time. You can come here the rest of your life for free. And I'm here. I was here for the August first camp or something like that. I think it was August 3rd maybe. And I'm actually staying here until at least December. I'm training. Good call on time off, med ball throws, and OHP in off season. Yep. Best way to use Jaeger bands for increased velocity. I don't think Jaeger bands are too much for increasing velocity. I'll ask him when he gets back. They're more for making sure that your shoulder is healthy as you get stronger. And maybe a stronger shoulder will increase velocity, and that's naturally. I would say the basic ones, band going this way, like that, the other way. These. But when you do these, keep the thumb pointing back, going both ways. There are a whole bunch of good ones. Try to get the scat work in. He just asked, what?
I don't have another battery.
Oh, that's not good.
We're going to have to run it out.
There was a question asking best bands for Jaegers. Best exercises for Jaeger bands to increase velo. I said that's, going to make your shoulder healthy, and that might increase velo. I was just walking through what I used to do.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of a lot of shoulder stuff. I think to me it's good post throwing to kind of tighten up, or not much tighten up. I'd say strengthen up your external rotators. But to be honest, I like just using regular bands because I like grip bands. So bands that have a ball grip, some type of grip, because I want to work my forearms just as much, because all the pains you get on the posterior side of your forearm is all the deceleration stress that you want to strengthen when you're in your external rotation or you're doing your reverse throwing movements. To me that's more health. What was he asking for?
For velo, but I said healthier arm might increase velo.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. It's something that you can do up front,
extra.
But eventually it's not going to have that effect. If anything, it might be a little bit of effect up front, but overall it's not going to have that effect. I'd be wanting to do more explosive training, so it's I'd be wanting to do more that or more plyometric work, doing more sprint work. After the game, do your arm stuff, but then get out and do some plyometric explosive stuff as well. I think that would be huge. They want you to go play? We don't have to go much longer. This thing's probably
we're all good. I think we have a lot of questions still. We're having a good one today. With the arm up at front foot strike, should you be at 90 degrees, or is it okay to be less than 90 degrees?
The arm up at front foot strike?
So I don't know if he means this way or this way, but answer both.
Oh, at 90 degrees at front foot strike.
Yeah.
So they talk about that. Where should the arm slot be? Well, we do want to be somewhere around 90. Typically, when we get too extended from 90, you start dragging the arm. It also it release, and if you get too extended at release, it's really hard on your arm. More distraction forces, it's pulling your arm out of socket more. So the flexion aspect of it really allows you to move into rotation, trunk rotation, and external rotation really well. So the thing is when guys go too far into 90, so guys, if they go way too far into 90, right, when you turn, your elbow kind of wants to pop ahead, and that's really delay, because it's going to delay pronation, and it's going to put more torque on your elbow.
I've seen a lot of teammates get hurt that way, pushing their elbow forward.
So to me, I'm just a 90 guy. If you want to be just inside 90, that's fine. But if you're hard 90, inside 90, You know, you're going to be this guy right here. That's going to be harder on your arm. You're going to lose velo too. You know, somewhere just inside 90 or at 90 is ideal.
And what about this way too?
External, internal?
No, like a front foot plant. Yeah, like external, internal. You know, because some guys.
Yeah. So when you hit front foot strike, you want to be just coming into full cocked. So if that's 90 degrees, when you hit front foot strike, you want to be about halfway up, just ready to come in. You don't want to be all the way up because you might already be open into external rotation. When you land, you want to be just coming up, so somewhere here. Yeah, if you land and you're too late, what can happen is by the time you get your arm up, if you're well into rotation, it's going to drag your arm, and you're going to have the arm drag issue. And that's a lot of, I'm telling you, most of the injuries come from you dragging your arm. Because you stretch the pecs to end of range when you turn and drag your arm. You open the gap of the ulnar to the humerus where the UCL is. So the more, as you turn, the more you pull your arm back, the more you open the gap and expose your UCL, and the more you lengthen the pecs, which is going to make it harder for stabilize the shoulder. It's just so bad for your arm. You just got to be very careful not to do that, right? It just totally makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
it makes perfect sense.
And all the guys are literally like, you know, putting their arms back there and dragging their arms around. You're just like, no. I mean, I see guys in the big leagues do it. You're just like, oh my God, you're going to blow your arm up. Keep going. I'm going to pop this thing up.
Okay, so my mechanics were so bad, and then Sebastian helped me out. Can Sebastian tell you more about what he told me? It's been working so much better, and I feel like I'm throwing a lot harder. Oh, so I told him. So he sent me video. That's my boy Ryan.
Yeah.
He sent me video of his pitching mechanics, and he was sitting into his back leg pretty well. You know, like pretty decent, but he wasn't driving out of it, and his shoulders were both way early.
Yeah.
So like he was throwing like this pretty much, like with the hips closed.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know, sit into it, then try to drive really hard to open them, and then, you know, pull back this way. So you can hip and
get
shoulder
more
start.
separate.
Yeah, and drive harder.
Right.
So then you could get that bam.
But a lot of guys have a hard time getting those hips to open. Why do you think a lot of them have a hard time getting the hips to open?
A lot of reasons. A big one is mobility. A lot of people, you know, like I even some hip mobility problems that I need to get
that's a huge
better
one.
into. Especially the hip flexor. That's a tough one. Got to try to open up your hip flexor. And also because you don't get into a good position, like the force vectors need to be going forward. And if you're not going to be able to go forward, then you're not going to be able to open the hip up too well. And maybe even like with a front hip, you know, like it got a lot better me driving when Brent told me that you got to open the front hip first to get into the second hip.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. If you
can't just swing
if you
it,
just open,
yeah.
you're screwed.
But you're still close.
But you trigger it with your front leg.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. This is the only leg on the ground pushing and driving. If that hip is completely sideways and you push, it's not going to rotate. The front leg allows rotation to start the movement. And then when you push it, it powers that rotation. That's the key.
Yeah, so he did a good job though. Then couldn't ask for a better person. Have fixed my mechanics. I have a good arm path and good pushing off my back leg. Do the top V handshake for that one. The top V handshake, guys.
I'm still.
Thank you, Ryan. You're my boy, all right? Best ways to use Jaeger bands. Same question. We talked about that.
Well, I mean, the thing is like you can do those with external rotation. Here's the thing. Post throwing, all the eccentric loading was in external rotation and pronation. So when you have a lot of velocity stretching a movement like external rotation, pronation, then you're actually weakening that muscle. If I take a muscle and I keep pulling it, think about that. If I had like a rubber band and I just kept stretching it as fast as I could, what would happen to that band every time?
It gets loose. It's like the hair tie.
Yeah, and it's gonna rip.
Yeah.
But if it was the other way around, if I kept contracting it and contracting, it gets tighter, right? So your internal rotators are getting tighter. So they're actually staying strong. The problem is the external rotators are being ripped out, and they're ripped out. And what happens is the shoulder tries to thicken, it inflames and tries to thicken to protect it, and then you start to lose internal rotation range because of that thickening, and it's a weakness that's happening. So post throwing, you want to take the elasticity that you put through the system, and you want to contract it back up. You want to shorten it back up. So that's why all the external rotation stuff, the pullback stuff here is very good. Now you don't have to overdo it. just want to put it back, and get it to that good place again. Yeah, and then pronation too. Like you want to turn it this way. That's why with the bands, I want to make sure I have the ability to also hit my forearms. If I have bands that don't work the forearms, I might have to do that separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which becomes an issue.
Did the camera die?
No, it just keeps cutting off.
Okay, I really need help. I don't know which kind of mechanics would be best for me. Could you help me decide which set of mechanics would be best for me?
What do you mean, what set of mechanics? The way we look at it is we want to optimize your kinetic chain. So it's all about optimizing your kinetic chain. So you've got to learn, and in learning our system, you're learning how to best optimize your kinetic chain. That's the key. Keep going. What else we got? Anything else?
I'm gonna add on to that, so like some important things, right?
All right. I want to see what you have to say. Let's go.
All right, so some important things for mechanics. You get into your leg lift, you need to sit into the back hip, rotate it. We talked about this last live stream. You gotta feel the
delay rotation back here, because when you delay rotation, you can build energy, you can build power, right?
Mm-hmm. And keep your momentum, like all your weight going forward. Like it's easy to like do that with all your weight on your back, like over your back leg still, and that's not bringing anything down the mound yet. So try to keep your weight, on your body as you do it. And then, right before front foot plant, start with the front leg and then bam, drive really hard. I call it a drag race car. That's what my shin is.
Everybody liked that. I had a lot of people DMing me saying, man, it really made sense when he explained it.
I'm a coach.
Coach Vince over here.
And then, at that point when you're driving in front foot plant, you're kind of like leaving this back, kind of like this, getting a big, like that, you getting here, keeping this close.
Somehow get people to see you here.
And then at this point, because you're holding this back now, and this is just flying forward, like driving open, so hard that you're just gonna you just let go of the tension and you're gonna boom, and then you don't even need to worry about it. So it's just you lift your leg, get into this. Point the knee out, get the weight on your heel, feel it here with the body over your, kind of your stomach or your back hip. And then the drive part, and the lay back, and then bam, you let go.
I like it. That was it. I think
yeah.
Nick's over here listening to you. You can hear it.
Yeah, I'm helping.
I like
Does Sebastian ever leave? Depends on the day.
He owns the place now. He's taking ownership. Top V's going down. It's going to be Sebastian Velocity.
Uh-huh.
Is that what we're going to call it?
We're going to name it, we're actually going to make t-shirts. It's going to have his face and my face. We're going to have speech bubbles. And the speech bubbles are going to be dry erase. So you can put whatever questions you want.
Or after you win a game.
Yeah, 7-0. Keep in mind, today, I beat Patrick and JT in a game of 2-on-2. I scored at least 5 points with 2 assists out of 11.
And they're calling you out there.
And then right after that, JT decided to say, I will never let Sebastian beat me in a game of 1-on-1. I beat him 7-3. I'm just not beatable, guys. I'm the man when it comes to
I'm going to make an announcement. I'm going to be at the World Series tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Right over the bullpen.
Excited. So if y'all want to watch my live stream, I'll document me going in. I'm excited to go see Aaron Barrett. He hasn't had much chance to pitch because their staff is too damn good. Could you imagine pitching on that staff? Everyone throws 100. Everybody throws 100.
You're gonna need to be impeccable with everything else,
It's crazy. So I'm excited. I've never been to World Series, so this is the first World Series game in Washington D.C. I think that's a pretty exciting thing. So I can't wait. All right. What else? We got more questions.
Brent, how many times do I have to throw the 20-ounce ball before I have a good arm action?
The 20-ounce ball? Never.
2-pound ball. But good stuff.
Oh, 2-pound ball.
I think that's what he means.
Well, what's 20 ounces?
No, not baseball. Not 20-ounce baseball.
I'm not talking about baseball.
Let me grab the med ball.
So, it's not an amount of time. So with our med ball routines, it's just teaching us good mechanics. It's not like we're loading our bodies to throw harder. That happens in the weight room. that is to teach us biomechanics. It's to teach us how to incorporate more of the legs and trunk into your movements, and how to get your arm to work with your trunk. That's the biomechanical, or the and velocity enhancement aspects of it, or forcing the body, loading the body to enhance, is going to be more in the weight room with our lifting approaches.
And then we got some laughing emojis after that one. My boy Seaweed. What's up, Gene? I'm gonna visit you at Target tonight. I need to buy some bananas.
You already got friends at Target?
It's Gene, the guy who works here. I also need to get apple juice
Okay.
for my
Gene's
smoothies.
Gene's working at Target?
Yeah, Gene and Brad. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. Ryan, call me whenever. You know, you have my number. I'll talk to you about mechanics.
Rain alert. It's about to start raining here.
The game's gonna get canceled.
Yeah.
4 months to prepare for a season. How can I start? What are your recommendations? Top V camp.
4 months, yeah. I mean, I think a big off season. That's a great amount of time for an off season. You can come in like what we do here. We're going to evaluate you. We're going to show you where you are. Where's your power? Where's your strength? Where's your mobility? Where's your mechanics? And then we're going to show you the elite measurements, all that. And then you're just going to take that time to develop those elite metrics and those elite abilities. And we use a progress report to help show you where you are and how far you're away from those elite measurements. And 4 months is a good amount of time to really go up a good 100 pounds in all your lifts, 4, 5, 6 inches in your vertical jumps or your jumps, and then incorporating that into your delivery through improving your mechanics and getting the explosiveness through your mechanics. And I've seen guys in 4 months, a lot of them go 10, 15 miles an hour. It's insane. And to be someone who's probably in the mid to low 80s to go up 10 to 15 miles an hour, that's a life-changing off season. And you did it in 4 months, or maybe it took 2 off seasons, but it's like that's not a lot to ask to literally change your life. 4 months, 8 months.
Becomes the nastiest
4
picture
months,
ever.
8 months. Yeah, you go, or if not, you go from, I probably would have just gotten barely out of college baseball. Now I'm playing professional baseball. Like that's
or
a
even
life
getting
changer.
into college too.
Yeah. People don't realize how much that'll change your life.
Yeah, 8 miles per hour is nasty. Think about 10 miles per hour. Now 15, that's crazy. Who's raised baseball 16? You know
Who's
who?
who?
Raised baseball 15. Maybe it's on my phone.
Is that you?
He said answer the FaceTime.
All right. Any last questions here? How long have we been doing this?
Oh,
Oh man, we got a bunch.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch.
The camera's still holding on over here.
Ray Baseball keeps saying FaceTime me. I don't know who you are, Ray. Do you know Ray Baseball 16?
Ray Baseball?
Yeah.
No. Is he talking crap to us?
Yeah. He's telling us to FaceTime him. What's up? Press wrong button, so ignore the emoji. Okay. You throwing 90 yet? Very close.
Very close.
Very close.
And he's 17, so
Yep.
pretty good.
And a lefty. What is the best way to get your fast twitch muscles firing faster?
You go tell him.
Oh man. So, especially the conditioning, the speed improvement drills, rapid response, plyos, like jumping over boxes and stuff. And then, like doing cleans and squats, like jerks, the whole program. I like, man, especially the conditioning, like everybody hates doing conditioning. Especially I always do it, but I never enjoy it. Now I'm enjoying the conditioning because I can feel how different it feels to run and to throw. I feel so different after doing a lot of fast twitch stuff like ladders, rapid response, which is like that kind of thing, or the pogo jumps, bunny hops, the mogul, is that how you say it? Mogul.
Yeah.
All those things, just do that religiously. Good answer?
Yeah, and just stop being slow, right?
Yeah.
Stop being slow.
Just get fast.
Get fast.
Run faster.
Play basketball fast.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, everything you do fast.
Be quick.
Get out of bed fast.
Be
Turn a corner.
Yeah, you gotta think.
Fast.
Yeah, when you're moving, you gotta.
Yeah, do the
Yeah.
jukes and stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta get fast. That's the big thing. I was playing Gary, one of the guys who's here, and he told me, he gave me a tip. He says, if you want to get past somebody, you gotta your feet gotta be better. You gotta move quicker. So the day that I was all right, let me try to move quicker. Playing some pickup, is the day that I figured out how to throw. You know, like how to drive, and because it's all linked together. So like, do everything you can with your feet. Do it fast. You know, even try to dance a lot. You know, dance fast.
Typically, faster guys, better athletes, are good dancers. So I think dancing is a good assessment of how dynamic are you, how quickly and explosively can you move through complex movements. That's what dancing is, right? Controlling your body. So if you can't dance, you probably can't throw that far.
Uh-oh.
We lost it, and we're back on.
Okay, so another question. What up, Brent? About the flexion, and about the flexion in 90 degrees. I saw your drill. Can you do with holding a ball between your bicep and arm with throwing to get that muscle memory? So that's like, you know, those, like the soft, like.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I think the problem with that is, I mean, I guess if you're a guy, here's the thing. If you are a very rotational thrower, like if you're a very rotational trunk, you're going to be a guy always fighting to be in here because your arm wants to fly out, because your arm is just going where your trunk's going. Well, if your energy is not so much rotation, but it's more all that linear energy, your arm's not going to want to fly away from your body. So I just feel like a lot of the guys that are over obsessing with pulling their arms in and using those balls, there are guys that are just the big rotators, and they're trying to prevent their arms from wanting to get away from their body. And that's not a way to fix it. I want to get you more linear, more momentum going forward, and then your arm's just going to want to follow that. Your arm's just a little piece of thread that's just going where the energy's going. The energy's going that way because you're spinning, your arm's going to go that way. If your energy's going that way, your arm's going to go that way.
Right.
So I think a lot of that is kind of working backwards. That's what I feel like it is. It's working upside down. You know, sometimes you do have to work upside down because people are so upside down.
Right.
But I don't like it. I don't like that approach. I'd rather sit there and work on their hips and trunk and then forget about the arm. And then all of a sudden they get that down and then they start throwing. They're like, wow, my arm is not like flying off my body. It's like, yeah, because your energy's going forward. As opposed to just trying to fix the end, which is really, it'd be like I always use the analogy, if I had a stick and a rope, and the rope is taped in the middle of the stick, or the stick was taped in the middle of the rope and it's hanging down. If I spin the rope, right, it lifts the arm. The rope pulls up.
You just spin the stick, it
Spin the
lifts
stick,
the rope.
it lifts the rope.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to do the other way around, right? I don't want to lift the rope.
By spinning
I mean, just to lift the rope, I want to spin the stick. Like, that's the better approach. I want to get the energy going where I want it to go, and then the arms are going to go in that direction.
That's like the little flyer thing.
Yeah.
It's a stick in the wings,
You go,
and it flies away.
if it was like a rope, and you want to get the arms up,
it's
you
the
can
same
pick
thing.
the arms up and hold it. You know, like you see those guys that they're barely moving, they're trying to get their arms up and throw. Like, that's
Like
not how I
a
do
crab.
it. Right. I want to get this moving faster, and then my arms start following.
Right.
Everybody, a lot of people want to do it backwards.
Velocity tips for side armors.
So sidearm, you're going to drop to what's called a ipsilateral position, an arm side position. And what that's going to do is it's going to be more like a hitter. Your trunk's going to want to just rotate. It's hard to move forward while you're doing that. So that's why typically side armors throw slower, because once they drop their arm slot, they're just going to release the pitch. They're not going to be like an over-the-top pitcher. Once his arm gets up, he then can carry all that energy forward. It'd be like hitting like this, right? I'd have to literally bring the bat over my head to carry my trunk forward. But I can't do that. It'd be a lot harder to hit the ball like that. So I drop my hand, so now all I can really do is spin, right? So that's the problem with side armors. Once they drop, they're just going to spin. So I always try to get side armors to drop last minute. So build all that energy through your stride, and then last minute you drop and release, as opposed to quickly dropping and then you lose all your power.
Right.
So if you're a side armor, same thing. Load, counter rotate, build your stride power, right? Separate, and then you drop your arm slot when you go to throw, and you'll have way more energy behind the ball than if you're like a lot of those side armor guys do. They want to immediately lean forward, right? It's a side armor, they want to immediately lean forward, and now it's all arm at that point. I want to do the same thing. Hold it up, load, drive, and then last minute drop.
That's nasty. That's why you see some sidearm guys or some ring guys throw like 98, Just
They
because
do
they're
it
holding
more
all
that
that
way.
power. Yeah.
Yeah, they look the same from here, and then it's boom, and then they drop, and they're like touching the dirt on those.
Yeah,
really
and that's even harder to
sharp
pick
guys.
up too.
Yeah.
Than a guy
Yeah,
who
last
starts
minute.
here because you're always
Right, because
seeing
you're
it.
seeing it the whole way. It's like that's where it's gonna come,
Right,
as
they
opposed to
come up here,
this, and then last minute you
bam.
drop down.
Yeah.
But that's if you're pitching right out of the gate sidearm, and you switch to that late, it's gonna be a big adjustment for you.
Then you're gonna be nasty.
You will, but it might take some time to get used to it.
Perfect slider grip.
Go ahead.
I don't throw a slider.
I'm not a slider guy either. I never could throw one that good. I was a curveball,
Change up, fastball.
3-finger curveball. I mean, the point is a slider, and there's going to be a million different ways of throwing it. You're getting to the side of the ball, and then, like I said, you have to always be on top of the ball, and you have to keep your pressure all ready to release. You can't lose your pressure before release. So, a fastball, you're just over the top. A slider, you're slightly to the side, and you have your pressure, a lot of pressure in that side position, all the way to release, and then you're going to get that cut off the ball. But dude, there's like a million of those you could throw. David Ardsma, 10-year big leaguer in the Blue Jays organization as a coordinator. He did a course for us. Put that back on. He did a course for us about 14 pitches that he breaks down and goes through them step by step, out of the hand, how it spins, how to grip it, how to face hitters with it. So it's pretty cool.
You also throw a football, right? That'll help with the slider.
Yeah.
Because you're sipping it and throwing it.
Yeah. Well, the only thing with the football, I think that's probably better for a curveball.
Okay, for a curve.
Slider, you're more like
On
just
top.
slightly on the side. I would probably want. I don't know. Football. I threw footballs because I threw curveballs my whole life, and it has that similarities. But I mean, I think a football is good for any throw. I just don't know if it'd be that much similar to a slider, but it'd be more similar to a curveball.
Mm-hmm.
Any more? We're gonna shut this thing down pretty soon.
Brent, did you create the Top V Pro program first or the King of the Hill program first? Both are awesome.
Thanks. And Top V came first. Top V came from my career. I tore my rotator cuff at 18. I first developed it with some other coaches in the strength and conditioning world to recover from a torn rotator cuff and get into pro ball with it. But and then the King of the Hill came along after that. The Top V methods have been there since my career for over 15 years. If you're going to go into my career, so what else we got?
Some trash talk from Nick. We're not gonna go over that. Do you teach any lefties? I'm a lefty. Oh, we have a few lefties, right? Who else is a lefty?
I always forget you're a lefty. Here comes the rain.
Oh yeah, you can hear it. Yeah, but there are a lot of lefties here.
All right, how many you got left? Almost there.
We have plenty. I'm 6 foot 165. How important would it be to gain 20 to 15 pounds? 6 foot at 165.
Gaining weight is always good for you because I'm checking us out on our other platforms. Because if you can move it, if you can gain weight and keep your power, then it's more force down the mount. It's when guys gain weight and they lose their power that becomes the problem. So weight's a good thing as long as you can move it well. So I don't want to gain like 30 pounds and jump 10 inches lower. That would be really bad.
Body workout suggestions for speed gain.
Body workout suggestions for speed gain.
I feel like we've answered that.
Yeah, we've answered that a lot. I mean, Olympic style lifting would be the key. Follow the Olympians. That's what we do. We teach an Olympic style method because those guys are the best at powering through the kinetic chain. Not just creating power, but powering through the kinetic chain. Right? What else we got?
What's the biggest difference mechanically, physically between upper 80s to a 90s guy?
So upper 80s to a 90s, yeah, I think physically you're going to see just a bigger, stronger, faster athlete. Mechanically, you're going to see the better use of the kinetic chain. The guys are able to get more hip and shoulder separation. They're getting more trunk energy going because their hips are more mobile. So, it's going to be all across the board. It can be done many ways. Biomechanically, mobility, speed, strength, power.
Here's a good one. While my shoulders hurt, I need help.
While my shoulders on you. I don't know, man. I think a good place to start is an assessment of where you are, like we do with the 3X Velocity camps. Measuring things out, we can kind of see okay, where are you restricted? Your hips are really tight. Well, maybe that's affecting your shoulder because there's a direct link to your shoulder from your hips. Maybe you're just too weak and you've been overthrowing, and your upper body's weak and it's just broken down at this point. There could be many reasons for that. I think it is hard being in baseball or in any sport where you keep injuring yourself and you don't know why. That's a really, really crappy place to be. I think we've all been in those places and it's like really depressing. And that just tells you need to learn about your body. You need to learn this stuff. That's why we do this all the time. You need to get on our channels, follow our app, topvelocity.net/app. You got to get into all the science that we post up here. It's in the app too. And you got to learn these techniques, these methods, and start understanding how your body fits into all this. And then it'll all start making sense. And then you can start taking charge. And then you have those less moments where your arms are hurt and you don't know why, or you're overworked and you can't catch up, or you're underperforming this year. When you really understand this, you can put yourself in better positions.
Which are the muscles that a pitcher needs to work more to increase miles?
The muscles are going to be just like saying what lifts are going to work the best for increasing miles per hour. The muscles are all the muscles. The small muscle groups help start movements and guide movements. The big muscle groups help power movements. So, you need your small muscle groups so you can be in control of all your movements and you can efficiently control those movements. You need the big muscle groups to put the force behind it and create the power and the speed and the velocity. So it's going to be a combination of everything. I mean, the body too doesn't really work independently, or the muscles in the body rarely work separate from each other. They're all intertwined. It's like a spider web moving through your body, specifically through what's called your fascial system, your scar tissue, that holds you all together. So that's why if your lat or your hip starts tightening up, your lat starts tightening up. And if your lat starts tightening up, your shoulder starts tightening up. And if your shoulder starts tightening up, your forearm starts tightening. It's a chain reaction. That's why if you've ever hurt like your low back, and it'll start on your left side, and then all of a sudden a week later it's on your right side, and then it's up here, and it's in your neck, and then it's in your ear, and then you have a hearing problem. It's all connected. So you got to be careful trying to think or putting your perspective in segments. Like I just got to get this area strong, my core strong. No, you got to get your whole body strong because it's all working together.
Think about it. Guys could hurt their pinky toe and end up feeling it in their elbow.
Yeah, and that's happened before.
Yeah.
Right? Guys have injured their feet and blown their arm out because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the good example was one of our interns that we had here, Matt. He threw 95, 96, or I think he hit 97 and blew his hip out. And he goes back, he looked at old video and he saw himself limping. He'd pitch and he'd limp off the mound.
Really?
And he remembered it started in his toe. He started having big toe problems. And then it was probably all coming from the hip, and then the hip eventually blew out. So the point is you got to be very aware of your body and understand that it's all connected. If you're having a toe problem, don't ignore it, because that actually could hurt your hip or lead to your arm.
Mm-hmm. How to get from upper 80s to 90s? It's a repeated question.
I think the biggest way to jump. I like that question. The biggest way to jump at that point is really getting good at the details. So I usually tell those guys, okay, now you can't just come in and do the program. Now it's like, what are the things that you just you're like, I'm not, that's not my favorite because I'm not that great at that. Those things you got to yeah. When you make that jump, it's like you stop being lazy and just ignoring things. You really focus in specifically on the things you're having a hard time with.
Yeah, huge attention to detail.
Like we got a guy requesting to come on.
Want to try it? Set him on. Remember last time it went well?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. What's it saying? Review. Hey, we're going live with you, man. See if he comes on. Hopefully my volume's up. So it says waiting. Here he comes.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, man? Can you see us? You there?
Maybe it's frozen.
Maybe it's frozen. Hey, we're asking or answering a question here on Instagram. Not sure it's gonna work out. Can you hear us?
Oh, he's coming. He's coming. I heard a door open. Hello?
I like how it says hello. He probably doesn't know he did it. He pocket dialed us.
But there was a good question right above that. It was good exercises to increase mobility, movement. Oh.
It's over. Well, guys, that's the end of our stream. Thank y'all for joining us. We're gonna get better at this. I need
Road to
to
100.
get some better cameras on this.